How are students there celebrating My Freedom Day? What are they telling you?
Human trafficking is a global
Hey, Rosemary. Here in Hong Kong, I'm at the Hong Kong International School, and they are marking My Freedom Day, the student-led day of action against modern-day slavery. You see it in the badges that they're wearing and circulating with anti-slavery messages, with the Freedom Wall behind me with messages of hope. And what's happening here around me this afternoon, something called a Socratic seminar, where they're discussing issues like human trafficking and how to stop the ever-ending cycle of exploitation. And joining me now is Darcy Lin. She's a middle school student here at the Hong Kong International School, and you've been leading this discussion earlier today. What have you been talking about so far?
So we were talking about modern slavery and human trafficking in like a modern day setting and what's going on right now. Yeah. We're also talking about how fortunate we are that we didn't even, maybe some of us didn't know about it until CNN came and was like, oh, it's My Freedom Day today, and then we learned about it. But and we're just so fortunate, so I think that's a big part that we're learning more about this.
Interesting, just aware of the problem, but also that sense of gratitude about what you have and what you could do to act.
Yeah.
Was there something that you learned about human trafficking or modern-day slavery, either globally or here in Hong Kong, that gave you pause, that just really surprised you?
Yeah, so this morning we watched a video, and usually when I think of slavery occurring in developing countries or countries that you would just normally gravitate towards thinking of it. But slavery, there's been reports in all 50 states of the United States, and I think that was really shocking to me because most people think of America as this totally developed and sort of utopian sort of country that doesn't have a lot of these problems because they're so developed, but they're still there and they need to be fixed.
Yeah, the problem does exist in dark corners all around the world, in the United States, in Hong Kong. 40 million people living in slave-like conditions today. The problem seems so immense and so daunting. Are you optimistic that we can end modern-day slavery?
I hope so, eventually, because right now in our day and age, we have access to all this information that many generations before us didn't have. We have the internet where we can just Google it and we can learn more about it. So I think a lot more people are empathetic and they're learning and they're more aware than past generations may have been. And I think that's a huge step that needs to be taken.
Well, Darcy, stay empowered, stay involved. Thank you so much. And I would talk to someone else who is here, who's been listening to the students, and he is at the front line of the fight against modern-day slavery, the CEO of the Mekong Club, himself a modern-day abolitionist, Matt Friedman, who's also inspired by what these kids are doing. Take a listen.
Well, you know, I've been doing this work for 30 years, and when I sit down and listen to these students, I feel like I want to take a notebook out. They are so aware of what this issue is. They've done their homework, they've gone online, they've collected all this information. What they can do, basically, learn about the issue and then share this information with somebody else. It's very, very easy to do something like that. When it comes to consumer goods, prior to buying a branded thing, they can go online, they can collect information about a particular product, and if there's a policy that that company has, they can congratulate them. If they don't have a policy, they can simply state, listen, I like your product, you know, I'd feel better if you had it. That encourages companies. They can fundraise. There's a lot of organizations that need just a little bit of money in order to kind of help them move forward. And lastly, volunteering. My youngest volunteer was 9 years old. This girl was awesome. She was able to do things that second-year Yale law students weren't able to do. So any student who wants to step up and get involved has much to do.
Looking into slavery from
a very inspired Matt Friedman there. You know, young people are very often the victims of human trafficking and modern-day slavery, but they are also some of the most passionate and powerful activists who are fighting against it. That's what's happening this day here in Hong Kong and around the world on this My Freedom Day. Rosemary, back to you.
Thank you so much. Incredible students there. Many thanks.